Okay, so now we're going to discover the Accurate AF tarot. And I have my little note here from Paige, so thank you so much. And I also got the business card with all the details and the abundance sticker. I do like me my stickers. So I did remove the plastic wrapping just to save us some time. It may actually also have plastic inside, I don't know. Come on, box. Yeah, the box takes a little bit of negotiation. And by a little bit, I mean quite a lot. Oh no! The bane of my existence, more plastic. I'm gonna go get some scissors. Taking the plastic off of the actual round deck. So let's pop that over here. The first thing I kind of noticed is that there must have been, and this is a production issue, there must have been some issues with trying to get this matte gold laminate on the round cards, because quite a lot of that is flaking off there, as you can see. It must have had trouble sticking to it. So I know that Paige is working on a second edition. The second thing for me is this. I've mentioned before, I'm just not a fan of writing on the back of cards. Like, that is a beautiful back with those designs. I don't feel like it needed the Accurate AF on there. I get from a branding perspective, but for me it feels very distracting. I'm not, like, it's not terrible. I just would have, if this was like a deck that I was doing myself, I would not have that on there. First impressions of the front, really cool. I like how there are keywords for both the upright and reversed. It being a round deck, what's cool about it too is, say that you pull the full card like that, and then we've got spontaneities up the top and carelessness is down the bottom. So it's almost like a wheel that you can sort of turn and see where it has been, where all like aligns. And I might do a 3-card reading at the end to show you a little bit more of what I mean. But I really like that because I have not seen that before, done in such a way for a round deck, which makes it really cool. So let's go through the cardstock. Is a 350 GSM. It's a pretty matte laminate, like it's got a lamination on it, but it's not super glary. So we have the Fool, Magician. So as you can see, this is a modern deck. Oh, so the way that they've done this is they've done it numerologically when they printed. So this is going to be in this order. So the 2 of Cups. Okay, the 2 of Rings. The 2 of Swords. So Rings must be the Pentacle suite in this deck. And the 2 of Wands. The Priestess. Beautiful. The 3 of Cups. So again, you've got this interesting, lovely 3 rings. 3 of Swords. So this is from, I mean, that is a very Rider-Waite-Smith. That's iconically Rider-Waite-Smith there, that the punctured heart. The 3 of Wands. These tiki torches. Oh, the Empress is beautiful. The Empress. The 4 of Cups. The 4 of Rings. It's interesting that, like, if you have a look. So like that's really Rider-Waite-Smith. But it seems to, like the rings are just, it seems to be more around like the hands. And what's interesting around like the Rider-Waite-Smith deck is that hands coming out of nowhere are a sign of divinity and are a sign of like a gift from spirit. These hands are like, they're not attached to any body that we can see in the frame. And the rings, well, the pentacles are about earthly material work, money, sort of things. So it's an interesting perspective. Whereas like some of them like this, the Four of Swords is a little bit more illustrated. The Four of Wands. Be interesting to see what changes Paige is working on for the second edition. The Emperor. I mean, these are very cool, like the Five of Cups. It's like half pip deck, half not pip deck. The Five of Rings, again, it's these hands without any attachment and these cups sitting out of nowhere, but then we get to the swords and it's like an actual person is in the swords. And then we go back to the wands and we're back to just having 5 wands. I do really like that design. That's gorgeous. So I'm not saying I'm not bagging it for it. I'm not saying I don't like it. This is my first impressions and what I'm getting from it. The Hierophant. The Six of Cups. The Six of Rings. The Six of Swords, resolution of difficulties, resisting transition, lack of resolve, unhappy traveling, travels, moving on, new journey, resolution. So if you read reversals or you're trying to learn reversals, this is a great deck. I'd say this is one of the strengths of this deck is this, what I have not seen before. And, you know, in an industry where we've seen pretty much everything, to have all of these on the outside where you can like turn the wheel and see different lights, like shades of grey in the cards. Really good for people who are wanting to learn reversals. I don't read reversals. I see them more as like the shadow side or the blocked side of a card. So I would just say the blocked is disharmony, is distrust, jealousy, friction, and frustration. And then upright, attachments, conflicting choices, partnership, and duality. So, lovers. So a really clever way of learning different aspects of the cards, all in one card. Seven of Cups. Seven of Rings. Seven of Swords. Seven of Wands. The Chariot is like the magic carpet from Aladdin, and that's coming out soon. The magic carpet from Aladdin with a eucalyptus tree. With these gumdrops. I know I've stepped on enough of these honky nuts to know. I'm just thinking, is that a racist thing? That's what they were called when I was growing up, and now I'm looking at them like, I think that might be racist. Pretty sure that's racist, and I apologize because I did not know, and I haven't lived in Australia for a while, so I've not stepped on one of those gum nuts. But they did call them honky nuts. That's terrible. It's terrible. Gum nuts. But I was really surprised when I traveled to South America to see eucalyptus trees everywhere. Because they and also in California, they grow really well. Fortitude. The Eight of Cups. I could feel there was one behind there, the Eight of Cups. The Eight of Rings. The Eight of Swords. That kind of looks like a 2 as well. I I'm not sure if that was just the font that was used for the words. The Eight of Wands. Nine of Cups. The Nine of Rings. And gosh, it's going to sound like I'm being real picky. These are just, honestly, these are just like initial thoughts. There was the Seven with the pear and the grapes, and it's, for me, I can't find it, but the Seven of Rings was a pear. And the Nine of Rings is grapes. For me, that's not, I would get a little bit, I would have to like really rely on the knowledge of like, well, either to read the keywords on the outside, but I mean, I wouldn't do that anyway, knowing the tarot as well as I do. There is not that much of a differentiation between a pear and grapes, because like the grapes, yes, in the Nine of Pentacles, she's a closer woman. In there are grapes, the vines, and there's the bird, the falcon, and but it could have been something that's a little bit more Nine of, maybe that's also because it's one of my favorite cards too. The Nine of Swords. Like these cards here, the cards where you have a little bit more, oh shoot, sorry, I was looking at the card and not my screen. The cards where you have a little bit more illustration are my favorite, I'm not gonna lie. Nine of Wands. I'm not a pit deck person. The Hermit. I do have books, I do have courses, I do have Marseille decks, but they're not what I go to read for my clients. I go for the Rider-Waite-Smith ones. Ten of Cups. The Ten of Rings. Yeah, see, like I just find, like if I was reading that, if I didn't have the keywords there, and I didn't know anything about the tarot, and I was like, Ten of Rings, I would be like so confused, because nothing in that says to me culmination, fortune, security, solid foundation, or stability. It's open for me. That's more, I get the gratitude and the abundance sort of link to it, but I would struggle with that. Ten of Swords, whereas like 10 swords with these snakes wrapped around it, you get a little bit more out of that. But yeah, I know it's a style. I'm not bagging the creator. 10 of Wands, see, that's great. Really love that. Going towards the pyramid there, hot sun, carrying the 10 swords. Is that an oasis? Is it real? Which is a really good throw on, like, is your burden real, or is this something you're taking on yourself for no reason? There's a lot in that image that you can really kind of dig into. The Wheel of Fortune, that's cool. You've got the zodiac with all the everything. You got water, like that is awesome. The Wheel of Fortune is really cool, with all the constellations, the elemental markers, the sigils, and that's great. I love that. Justice, another cool card, like the Balancing Rocks. The Hanged One, again, another lovely card. So for me, I feel like this deck is like, some of them I love and some of them I'm like, yeah, it's a pip card. To be honest, the Suit of the Rings confuses me the absolute most. Death, that's cool as well. Beautiful Temperance card there with the dragon tattoo and this galaxy-like bath. And again, this one's cool too, the Devil. Shadow puppets on the wall. There's so much. That finger symbol, there's a lot you can read into that. This shadow of illusion. I mean, there's a lot in that you can actually read from without having to rely on the keywords. The Tower, I mean, that is so rad. These the Tower of Cards falling down with this UFO, like super cool. So the Star, again, a beautiful card. Oh, I want to go there. I want to go there and go in waterfalls and watch the stars. The Moon, beautiful too. The major arcana in this are really great. I'm digging that a lot. The Sun. Judgment. These arms being like down here, being detached. This meditative state. The World. Again, that's beautiful too. The Dancer with the double helix. The Ace of Cups is really beautiful. The Ace of Rings. It would have been hard, I guess. I mean, maybe it's because I'm a massive Tolkien fan of like not making it the one ring to rule them all. I kind of probably would have leaned into that a little bit, but that's just because I'm a nerd. Ace of Swords. See, again, like the rings feel a little unfinished. I think that's going to be my biggest critique of this deck. The King of Cups. Drank. The King of Swords. These beautiful tattoos. The King of Wands. Do we have 4 there? No King of... There we go, King of Rings. So we do have people of colour in this deck. Oh crap, thought I was going to lose something over the edge. So we have the Maiden of Cups. Is that in? No, this is a little out of order. So you have the Maiden, these are the pages. I had to look at the rest of them to figure it out. So the pages are the Maidens, the Knights are Sons, and then Queens and Kings. So just to, so how about we do the Queens first, so we're kind of running in some order. Okay. Queen of Cups. And again, this is the way the printing was done and the way that they collate it. So being on the other side of this, I know what happens when you print, and the file names are how it is ordered and how it is printed, and that's why it has been wrapped up the way that it has. The Queen of Swords, love her, look at her, she's stunning. I mean, the Queen of Swords is my card, so Queen of Wands, love her too. That Leo there. And then we have the Sons. The Sons of Cups. It's beautiful too. Looking below the surface, really like that. The Son of Rings. Like, that feels a bit way more thought out. Perseverance, all that kind of stuff. I mean, to even be able to do that as a gymnast, that's insane. The Son of Swords. Oh, I love the Son of Wands. Gorgeous. Okay, and then we have the pages or the Maidens. The Maiden of Cups. The Maiden of Swords. Oh, I like that reflection. That is really rad. The Maiden of Rings. And the Maiden of Wands. So as I mentioned before, like, I really like this deck. It's one that I can see using. It's one that I can actually see working with clients with, and that's not the case for every deck that I'm sent or every deck that I purchase and do unboxings for. Some of them like go immediately to the pool room, and some of them go immediately in a swap pile, and some of them go immediately into my workspace. The more I handle this, the more I look at it, the more I've kind of gone through the whole deck, the more I like it. But like I said before, besides the chipped edging, which again is a production issue and not something that I know how heartbreaking it is to have production issues, and maybe I got a copy that was just, well, like it was sealed twice. There's no way that Paige could have known. But I know how gut-wrenching it can be to have production issues. The first edition of the Bad Bitches Tarot, the gilting on the edges was not left to dry, so they was rubbing off on every other cover, and I had to say, you have to do it again. So like I know what it is like to have these hold-ups, and it is gut-wrenching. I don't mind shuffling. I mean, this is going to be like the worst example of me shuffling is a round deck. I don't mind shuffling around deck. I've got quite a number of round decks. I think they add something different. They're beautiful. They're beautifully appealing as well when you're looking at the aesthetic. A bit rough to shuffle. I think doing it this way is probably the best way. I'm gonna pick one. So it doesn't come with a guidebook because all of the keywords are in here. I'm not mad about it. What do we get? So I said I was gonna do a 3-card reading, okay? So I'm gonna pull one from each of these, so to show you what I mean, and I'm gonna pull it so that I can show you what I was talking about. So the Maiden of Cups, the Ten of Swords, and the Tower. So if I was reading this, how this was laid out, we've got emotional insecurity, only upwards, and delaying disaster. So this is a really interesting reading. The way you can do this is like you're currently sitting in this, like in the past you were, if you're doing past, present, future, you were really sitting in a place of emotional insecurity, but you decided to dive deep. Now we're looking at the image of the cards, and then you realize that when you're down, the only way up when you're at the bottom, and when you dive deep and lean into what's going on with your emotional insecurities and sensitivity. But now you have this delay, like this feeling of oncoming doom or delayed disaster, and it means that we need to go back. So anytime I find I have a reading where it's stuck, so this is like delaying disaster, that's not a finality of a reading. I'd say, okay, the way back is to look back and start again. So there was clearly maybe something here that you didn't delve into deep enough in order to move past it, to really feel as though you're being, there's a resolution, and there is really the only way is up. The other thing too could be you feel like the only way is up, but if you get too high, if you build that tower too high, you shine too brightly, you're too exposed, it's all going to come crumbling down. So see, like this deck reads really fucking cool. Like I really, really like it. I would love to see the second edition as well. The changes there. And that was just the first reading. I haven't consecrated this deck. I haven't blessed it to work with me, and it's giving some pretty good stuff. So kudos to Paige. I really, really do like it. Like I said, I mean, I've said what my little critiques are, but that's not too much at all, really. This is where you can find the Accurate as Fuck Tarot. And you can find these hashtags. I will pop in the description below where you can go find this deck and where you can support Paige's work. And as always, thank you so much for watching.